Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about a myth that is extremely persistent in my world. I've had it happen so many times that a client will say to me something along the lines of, they didn't read me my rights when they arrested me. And it's understood that what they're getting at is they think that their case is going to go away just because the police didn't read them their Miranda rights, that the case needs to be dismissed. Today I want to talk about why that's not the case and what's actually true about Miranda rights or Miranda warnings. They're called both things, and give a little bit of advice about what to do in the situation where you might be facing police questioning in order to help your lawyer get you a better result. Before I get started, as I mentioned, my name is Joel Chorny. I am the owner and attorney at the law office of Joel Chorny here in Tucson, Arizona, and I'm only licensed to practice law in Arizona. So if you are looking for an attorney to help you with your case and your case is not in Arizona, you're looking for an attorney who is not me. However, if you do need assistance with a matter that is in Arizona, you are free to call my office. You can go to the link to my website that is here on the channel, and you can go to the Contact Us tab and give us a call. Or you can also call 520-581-4196 in order to speak with us. However, I want to make something abundantly clear that just watching this video does not constitute legal advice. This video is meant to be educational and informative, but it is not meant to create an attorney-client relationship with my viewers. That is simply not what is happening here. This is meant to be general information that you can use for your own curiosity and to better navigate the world and avoid making a situation worse for yourself. We all know them. You can probably say them along with me. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you at no cost. That is, in essence, the Miranda warnings. I've always been tickled by the fact that police officers will mention that they read their Miranda warnings off of their department issued Miranda warning card. It's like, really, you can't memorize these Miranda warnings? And they'll say that it's because they're trying to make sure they don't miss anything. I think that they're being a little over formalistic. It doesn't have to be said in exactly the way I just said it. What needs to be conveyed to the person is that they have the right to remain silent. If they choose not to be silent, what they say can and will be used against them, and that they have the right to an attorney during question. And if they cannot afford to have one will be given to them. So what is going on here? The Miranda warnings, they come to us from the case Miranda v. Arizona, which was a Supreme Court case where that was the issue that the court was to consider, whether or not a person's silence at police questioning could be used against them, or whether or not they had the right to not answer questions with the police. And this comes from our Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. You might have heard, I plead the Fifth. That's what that's referring to. You are exercising your right to not say something that can incriminate you, that can be used against you in a criminal prosecution. But it also comes to us from the Sixth Amendment, which says that we have the right to counsel, the right to an attorney, specifically the right to an effective attorney. And so the Supreme Court in Miranda v. Arizona in 1966 held that when the police want to ask a person questions that further their investigation and the person is in custody, they have to warn the person that they have the right to remain silent and that they have the right to have an attorney present when being questioned. And until then, people just had to know that on their own. But this doesn't apply at all times. A person only has to be read the Miranda warnings when they are what's called in custody or detained, meaning that they're not free to leave. The police have them and their right to move has been restricted. That is a situation that may prompt the need for Miranda warnings. Second element, the second requirement for Miranda warnings to be required is that the police are about to engage in an interrogation. They're about to ask you questions that are designed to elicit incriminating responses. If that's not the case, they don't have to give you a Miranda warning. A very typical example of when the police have you detained but do not have to give you a Miranda warning is right after they pull you over, say for speeding. They pull you over, they come up to your window, you roll down the window, hopefully you only crack it. If you've been watching my other videos, you'll know about that. And they'll say, do you know how fast you were going? That's not a question that requires the Miranda warnings. Although you could say that it is designed to elicit an incriminating response, the courts have basically said that the police get a gimme. They get one quick question in a traffic stop like that, basically. But they're allowed to ask you your name. That's not designed to elicit incriminating response. They're allowed to ask you where you were going, which again, not necessarily designed to elicit an incriminating response, but it's pretty limited. Most of the time, police officers will not give a Miranda warning at a traffic stop. And it's because they're not really asking you a whole bunch of questions. They're just trying to give you your ticket and send you on your way. But for example, if a traffic stop turns into a DUI investigation, that's different. Once they have you detained and they want to start asking you questions like how many drinks did you have that evening, or do you feel the effects of alcohol, they do have to give you the Miranda warnings. Now, the biggest myth about Miranda warnings is this idea that if the police fail to give you the Miranda warnings, the case goes away. And that comes to us because we have seen it so many times in movies and television that the police will give the Miranda warnings as they're putting the handcuffs on the person. It makes for good TV, it makes for good drama, but it's not an accurate reflection of what happens in the real world. Yes, it is common that the police will Mirandize a person upon arrest, but it's also very common that they won't do it right away because they're not in that moment about to ask questions. And there is case law that says that if enough time has passed from when the warnings were given before questioning begins, that the warnings are going to have to be given again to remind the detainee that they have the right to remain silent. So they might save themselves a breath and not bother reading the Miranda warnings when they're not about to go into questioning. But even if they never read the Miranda warnings, that's not a problem if they never bothered to ask any questions or if the person was not in custody. Now, the truth is that if a case is coming to me, chances are the person was in custody at some point. They had to have been arrested or cited or something. But if the police were never going to ask them any questions, there would be no Miranda warnings. And so when my clients tell me they didn't read my Miranda warnings, my first question is, well, did they ask you any questions? And oftentimes my clients don't really know what I'm getting at. But if the answer is no, they didn't, well, then there's no issue with having violated Miranda. Now, the other issue is that even if they were required to read Miranda warnings, meaning that the person was in custody or detained, and the police were about to engage in questioning, or actually did engage in questioning, even if they violated the requirement of giving those Miranda warnings, the remedy for such a violation is the suppression of any statements that the police collected in violation of Miranda. In other words, if you gave an answer that is helpful to the state that they would love to use against you, but they didn't Mirandize you, that statement should be suppressed. It should be kept out of the evidence. In other words, at trial, they don't get to use that statement against you. It's a powerful result of a Miranda violation, but it's not as powerful as making the whole case go away. And so when my clients say, oh, well, they didn't read Miranda rights, my first question is, well, did you answer any questions? Now, if they only gave answers that are helpful, which is very rare, and I want to urge you to not think that it is a good idea to try to give answers that are helpful to you. The best advice I can ever give anyone is keep your mouth shut. If someone tells you you have the right to remain silent, exercise that right. Remain silent. Even if no one tells you you have the right to remain silent, still exercise your right to remain silent. Don't give the police information that they can use against you. And even if you think it's information that's helpful to you, you would be shocked at how easily the police can use that information against you. If my clients didn't give any information, there's nothing to suppress. If they only happen to give information that we would want to use at trial ourselves, there's probably not going to be anything to suppress either. So Miranda warnings and Miranda rights are just not nearly as powerful as people think. They are important. They're a crucial part of our criminal system, but they're not as big of a deal as people think. And it's funny, there have been known instances of people in other countries who will be upset that they were not Mirandized, not realizing that is a strictly American phenomenon, because it's an American case for American jurisprudence. Anyway, Miranda warnings, they make for good TV, they make for good movies. They are important, but they're not the be-all, end-all of what happens with a person's case. If you found this video interesting, please share it, subscribe to my channel, follow me, whatever else it is that we do here on YouTube. My son gets a kick out of the fact that I don't really know how to finish these videos. I should probably watch some YouTubers to see what it is I should be saying at the end here. But I hope you learned something, and I look forward to catching you at the next video.